see you're a very deep guy.
Yes. 4 times nominated for Grammys.
There's a deeper spiritual dimension to it. Actually, vegetarians, me, who vegetarians, me, you know what?
Onu de oye vegan no.
Hey, I'm sorry they asked me those
That's why
questions.
he asked me. I'm the one that have kept quiet. I'm the one who has been eating.
On the fence.
Hey.
Thou shalt not make music for the sake of awards. That's the first principle of being a musician. I don't only speak to Ghanaians, my tribesmen, or this. I speak to the world.
So me and Zoo had a conversation this week. I called Zoo and I was literally crying on the phone.
Know thyself. And once you know yourself, it's like the big key to unlock your potential. And you don't need anybody else to give you that permission to do that.
With Nivea Dry Deo, you can keep moving forward in life with confidence. Nivea Dry Deo, Derma's 72-hour active protection against sweat and odor with 0% alcohol to prevent irritation. Stay dry and fresh all day long. Skin is so moving forward. Nivea is for skin.
This advert is FDA approved.
Stay by plan, Accra, stay by plan. All the boys, all the girls, for stay by plan. Stay by plan, stay by plan. All the boys, all the girls, for stay by plan.
Hi guys, welcome back to your favorite podcast in the world. As we always say, we're back. Stay by plan. It's your boy Zoo, and I'm joined by my co-host
Afi, your favorite person on the podcast. I feel like today I should have sat in the center to balance the rasta.
True.
But it's okay, I'll sit here and then both of you also wearing brown.
Yeah.
I don't know, did I miss? I think I missed the
I
memo.
think you missed them.
I
I
really
mean, the black is still kind of
like
know,
it's giving. Okay.
It's still in there.
How have you been?
Oh
Zoom?
man, it's been an interesting week. You know, we're recording. Oh, this is coming out on the 1st of May, hopefully.
Yes.
So it's a holiday. I hope everybody's enjoying themselves. Workers' Day.
The people in office, they went to work.
Going back to work the next day, so it's a bit weird, but
Shout out to Jessica. Jessica rallied the team together that they should go to work. And I said, I'm sorry, it's Workers' Day, I can't. So I'm holidaying.
yeah. You need to take a
Anyway.
break, so yeah.
So I'm excited because
Yes.
we have a legend in the studio.
Exactly.
And I'm very honored when he said yes to us. Like, it's very surreal. So Zoo, can you just give us like a background of who we have in the studio?
Oh yeah. You know, I wrote a little a quick paragraph, you know. So I'll just read it out for you guys.
And then you let us know whether it's correct or wrong.
Yeah, you can add or subtract, you know, whatever you want. So today we are joined by a truly inspiring artist whose music transcends borders. His name is Rocky Dawuni.
Woo, guys, this is crazy.
Yes. So he's known for his vibrant blend of Afro beats, reggae, and soul music. Rocky has become a global ambassador for African music, captivating audiences worldwide. But today we're not just talking about, you know, your music. We're diving into the man behind the music. And we want to know your thoughts on African culture, the challenges, the joys of balancing fame, personal life, health, creativity, everything. So everyone, just get ready for an insightful and fun conversation with one of Africa's most influential musical icons.
3 times nominated for Grammys.
Yes. 4. It's 4.
4. Sorry, please. I'm very sorry, guys.
Yes.
4 times nominated
Yes.
for Grammys.
Yes.
You make us so proud.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You
So
make us-
are you like the most nominated Ghanaian ever?
I'm not sure.
I think so.
I don't
I
know.
would-
I will
supposed
assume
to.
so.
Yeah.
You are. You are. He is, guys. He is. I'm sitting by.
We've given it to you.
I'm
so.
sitting by Grammy nominees. So talk to me properly.
yes. You know, it's an honor, you know, for me. And when you're an artist and you start off, you know, you have a vision, you know, and that vision is, you know, is backed by every action that you take to recognize that vision. So for me, I have always felt that my musical gifts, you know, growing up here in Ghana, the inspirations that I got, I never had a limit as to where my craft will impact. You know, I saw the power of the music that I was inspired to has the ability to reach every corner of the world, have the ability to, be embraced by people around the world. So that's kind of the mindset that I kept going with the music. And everywhere I felt there were gaps in it, I made sure that I compensated with education and learning and just growing. So a lot of the accolades that have come with it, a lot of times I acknowledge them, but I keep constantly moving and innovating and going.
I like that.
I think what I picked off of what you were saying is the fact that you are always trying to evolve and then sort of fill a gap in the market. I think a lot of people find it, I mean, it's not but their fault, but they find it very easy to just go through a line that has already been told for them. And then we have few people like Rocky that try as much as possible to create
the path.
The path so
for
that
everyone to
others
follow.
can follow. And it's really an honor to see that.
Yes, I mean, I feel it's critical because, the thing is that with every kind of creativity, when you set out to create, you have to understand that as a creator too, you are a conduit for creation. So you're partaking, whether you're spiritual or not, you have to believe that, we are children of the Most High.
Right.
You know what I mean? We are creation of the Most High. That's what I believe. That's my faith. So when you're a creator too, you also work in the same tradition. So that tradition is a form of divinity. And I feel that all of us, we are endowed with that gift, and you have to notice it, see it, believe it, and then work at it so that it becomes real to you, So, as a musician, I've always seen music like in that realm, and it really started, at a very early age where I kind of felt that, music and sounds kind of were attracted to me, and I had an innate understanding, and this was not something that was taught to me. I felt it. So once I felt it, I knew that this was a calling. So then now I had to fight the social construct, in order to ascertain that this is what I wanted to do. So the rest of the journey was more about, dealing with your parents, and then your parents are like, hey, you're supposed to go and buy something and bring it home. And the neighbor said they saw you like at another place hanging out and singing instead of going to go do that, So your parents are wondering like, what is driving this person? And then eventually you start developing, you start getting serious about it. It starts being a real vision. And then, you go out there and make it happen. And I think that, for me too, that those were some of the things that innately were part of recognition of self, of who I was, what my destiny was at a very early age, and then also understanding that the creativity that I was given, it was in music, it was in lyrics, it was, and I think that that's how I found my divinity, personal divinity, to recognize that creativity.
I kind of agree with what you're saying. I feel like this is my view, that every single person has creativity, but some people do not find, what they are creative at, or they express it in different ways that people don't recognize as creative. Because you can be creative with numbers. For example, you can be an accountant.
Yes.
To a lot of people, it's like you're an accountant, so you're not a creative.
Yes.
So I recognize that, or I respect how you were able to find your creativity from early and then kind of like build on it. But at what point did you realize that, okay, I want to do music and I want to make a living out of, my sound?
Well, like to be two different times.
Yes. It's the thing was that it was almost like having an itch that you cannot scratch. No matter how much you scratch, it doesn't go away. And knowing that you're gonna pursue it, but at the same time too, you build that confidence in you that you have to, you understand this so well, but then you have to manifest it.
Right.
You see, so manifestation is a very important part of it. And then here too, you are always given the choice. Your father will say, I'm investing in your school. Are you going to be a lawyer? And it's like,
Doctor.
hey, maybe you'll be a good accountant. Or, hey, maybe you'll be a good doctor. Or then you are looking at him by the side of your eye because,
Charlie,
you
not
you get your own way.
Yeah.
So at some point I knew that this was my calling. This was really my life, and I think that I recognized that at an early age. So I started really investing the time to acquire the knowledge that was that would ensure that it became a path for me, a path of success, my own. It will be a means of livelihood, but livelihood was not the primary objective.
Yeah.
It was trying to amplify my God-given gifts in a way that I feel that it will take care of me too. I feel that's kind of how I see creativity, because even when you look at music, its root form is the word muse. A muse is energy and spirit, and a lot of times, even in ancient times, it was depicted by a woman, who was like this muse spirit.
Yeah.
So music coming from that, there was always the recognition that this is something that comes and a vibe that comes from another
Realm.
dimension
Yeah.
of experience, So once you are able to connect yourself into that element of it, then it becomes something that is a life's mission. And then, I started seeing that, the next step for me was, okay, when I was in secondary school, it started actually from, I'll say primary school. Primary school, after recognizing that, I was attracted to like the cultural group that was in my school. Then I joined the cultural group. So that opened my eyes to all the traditional styles that were in Ghana, because I was keen on it. The drums pattern, the ever dances, the Nyumkro of, Ashanti region, the Simpa style of Dagomba, the sounds of Balogo sounds for Volta region, so all of this were in the cultural group. So then I learned that. So then I started learning real things that were among within our culture to amplify this keen interest, So I started populating it with the knowledge of how to do it, and it got to a point where there was that confidence that this is my path. This is the path that if I follow and push energy into it, it's gonna bear fruits and be successful, and also be able to support me as a person.
So when you were growing up, would you say it was almost weird or unorthodox to actively want to be in music? I think for us, because we've seen people like you do it and be successful, and we see like how the world is a global village, and we see that like other people allow their children to explore their gifts. It's becoming a little bit more easier for our time. But in your time, was it a little bit more like different? Like, why is he so focused on music? And were your parents supportive as well? Friends, everything?
The thing was that there was a prevailing mindset, and the prevailing mindset, I would say that it was also steeped in this whole concept that musicians were very rough. They lived a fast life. They
drugs
smoked,
and alcohol.
drugs,
alcohol,
women,
everything.
Everything that was in our social construct was seen as wayward. Musicians were seen the ones to be the primary kind of that was kind of their lifestyle. So a lot of times when you say you're a musician, your parents immediately their reaction is just like, oh, that's not, they're not looking at the other side of your creed unless you prove it. You see, so I felt that many people were a bit scared, even there were people that I knew who shared the same vision, who wanted to be musicians, but many of them lacked the courage to confront their parents and make the argument that this is what they want to do and this is what they will do and they will be good at it, for their parents to believe in them. So, but in my case, I just was, I knew that was the prevailing mentality. So I also, once my father and mother saw that this was a path that I wanted to take, this was something that I was good at, this is something I was interested in, they were also keen on my schooling. So one of the things that they were pushing was that if you wanted to do this and we were ready to also push you in your education, you have to give us what we want in order for us to allow you to do what you want to do.
Okay.
So it was not apparently transactional, but it was inherent in the whole thing for me to know that if I didn't do well in school, they were going to attribute it to
Your music. Okay.
my music being distracting me from that.
Yeah.
So then in school, I started also making sure that I was the most rowdiest, kid that sang everywhere, noisy.
Yeah.
I will close dorm rooms and do a concert and my mates will come. I didn't charge them gate fee at that time till later, Then everybody wanted to be where I was. So I was kind of that type of person. But at the same time too, right afterwards, we'll go, after doing all that, then we'll go and sit with our books and start learning and stuff. So from Form 1, going to secondary school, I did very well in my secondary school days. I did very well in school, and then I was in sixth form. I was accepted to the University of Ghana to read philosophy and psychology. Okay. So my parents, there was never that moment for them to kind of doubt, my ability to do both. So they just took it as, okay, this is what you want to do, and you're going to school. So I felt that I always tell people when they tell me, I'm just like, the thing is that you have to understand that your parents want your
best interest.
They want you to be equipped with the right tools to be successful.
Exactly.
But education can never be bad for you. So if you're a musician, also make sure that you are investing that time, because education can actually be something that can fuel
For sure.
your creativity, give you more dimensions, more perspectives, ability to leverage whatever triumphs you get in there for other things that you can't even perceive now. So for me, I felt that was how I was able to navigate the social construct of the perception that music was wayward. My parents saw that I was serious in what I was doing, and I was growing in that dimension too, as I was investing time in my music and growing in that. So that helped me circumvent that.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question for the two of you. You did psychology.
I did, yeah.
You did psychology. So I just want to see whether what our parents force us to do is actually valid. You are obviously a podcaster, that's Zoo, and then Rocky, you are in music, and then you both study psychology. Do you think your education in psychology has helped you in your creative process? And can you give me examples? Sorry to put you on the spot, because I always interview. You should go first.
I mean, so psychology is such a broad subject.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those subjects, and you also mentioned philosophy, it's one of those subjects that even though you may be learning something specific, it kind of opens your mind.
Right.
And so you're able to apply it in all different forms of your life. So I wouldn't say I use it directly, but I think it helped me learn differently and help me understand people better, because at the core of psychology is behavior, behavior of people. So I wouldn't say I'm using it directly, but I see things every day in my life where it's like, oh, I recognize. And so I just having a different perspective on people and how they behave and how they relate to me, I think for sure, especially as a podcaster, just having a conversation, even just body language, that previously you wouldn't even pay attention to. Now with a certain level of knowledge and understanding, you can understand, when is someone tired, So it helps. It helps.
Okay. Back to you.
Well, for me, the study of philosophy and psychology, I concur with what you're saying is that it gave me the ability to also take another look at the social construct.
Yeah.
You know, a discerning, almost outside look inwards. So it allows you to deconstruct things and look at them, you know, especially even when it comes to our culture. You know, you ask certain questions that maybe you had not asked first, because now your mind is trained as a psychologist and also a philosopher to look at it in those terms. So it allowed me for a deeper immersion into what it meant to be an African, what it meant to be who I am, my identity, and then at the same time to understanding the underlying elements that were instrumental in people's behavior, whether it's cultural behavior, whether it's economic behavior, whether it's political behavior, whether it's social behavior, and even musical behavior.
Yeah.
You know, you understood the importance of the right communication, that, you know, every communication does not mean speaking. Communication does not mean just casting, you know, like a verbal kind of pronunciation wide and thinking that because you are putting it out there, people are comprehending.
Right.
Communication is better served when the people you are communicating to are aligned with you in that line of communication to understand the framework upon which you are communicating, for them to comprehend what you're saying.
Yeah.
So same thing when you're on stage and you're performing, there's also another element even of that you have to, you connect with the audience, you know, the emotional dimension of what you express that connects with the audience. You kind of start feeling those things within you. So it's more, it allows you a bigger sense of, you know, like almost like a big magnifying glass that you can look at the world and look at yourself, you know. And I think that that's what psychology allowed, and philosophy and my education allowed. And it also allowed me also to be able to, when the music stops, I'm able to articulate the bigger vision of the music,
Right.
the social intention of my music, my lyric writing, the emotional objective of what I'm singing about, and what it's meant to when you are dancing and you are connecting with each other and feeling the energy of the music, you see. So it allowed me to look at it more in a much more empirical dimension. And I think that also helped my advocacy, you know, to be able to articulate things to much better. And I feel that those are the values that the study of philosophy and psychology brought into both my music, my persona, and then my artistic mission.
Very interesting take.
Wow. Yeah. Very deep, very deep. I can see you're a very deep guy.
He is.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first met, we had like a very small conversation about like artificial intelligence and like and sort of like what it's doing in the world now, and then how it can be very positive or very negative. I feel like it's something that we could even touch on today, depending on the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is a very deep, a very deep person.
Yeah. I have some deep
Question. Go ahead.
questions.
Then after your question, then we go on a break. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do this one. We'll go on a break. So, okay, first, like a lead-up question: how long, or when did you start growing your locks?
Oh wow.
Locks to locks.
yeah, locks. But I started actually growing my locks much more later. You know, I was in the university.
Okay.
You know, post university, when I had traveled also to different places, you know, the US, and then, you know, I started locking, you know, but I had always kind of believed in that, in the concept of, you know, expressing myself as an African, you know, and then also knowing that the philosophy of the locks, you know, you can find it deep within the Bible, you know. The Nazarenes, you know, and the Nazarites were, you know, people who carried locks, and even, you know, it was a sign of your dedication to God and your mission, you know. So I'm more connected to that old Nazarene order of carrying locks. You know, I know that now many people have different reasons for carrying them, you know, to look good, you know. I mean, but there's a deeper spiritual dimension to it. And even if you, you go to India, there are, devotees, there who also grow locks to dedicate themselves to the deity that they are, paying homage to. And so locks, even you can find it in so many different, kind of religious philosophies. That's what it's about. And even our traditions, when we go to our deepest tradition, Okomfo, the priest of our community, always grew logs. And even up till now, when you go to, our traditional homes where the spirit and our religious and shall I say, our connection to the Almighty, where we used to have before the inception of Christianity and all of these modern new forms of religion, when it was truly African, we had the people who led the way were people who also grew logs. So logs are the universal at the same time they're African, but then you had the issue of post-colonial Africa, the issue of Christianized Africa, the issue of, other religions coming in. And also I felt that there was also the de-Africanization, because before any concept can take root in you, it's like an operating system and software.
Right.
You have to change the nature of the operating system in order to install a new kind of software. So there was like that whole thing that was done in terms of Africans through colonization and all of that, where we were our kind of framework of thinking and reference was aligned with much more Western concept of who we are. And in that case, we lost a lot of those. So for me, growing locks was also part of the self-discovery part of going to the foundations of my own identity, me being an African, and then also me believing that I was connected on a bigger level by expressing myself in a bold way. Yes.
You actually just touched on everything I was
going
coming to everything I was going to ask, because like recently because of the job we do, like we meet so many people, and people often when they see my hair want to have a conversation about hair. So one time I went to church, and there's this guy who preaches and sings in the church, and he used to have locks and he cut his hair, and he was telling me like, how do I feel? He said he feels when he had locks, he felt more connected to God, and I've been hearing people tell, like, every time I meet people with locks, I have a lot of friends now who have locks, they're always telling me like, bro, like I feel like I'm more connected. I'm just like, I'm trying to understand like the roots, what exactly does it mean? So that's why now it's something I ask a lot of people when I meet them and they have locks, like, how do you feel? Like, does it feel different before you had it, now that you have it? If you end up cutting it or you've cut it, do you feel like you're different now compared to how you were when you had it before? So, but you answered everything I was going to ask.
Yes,
so,
yes. It's fine. And then the whole twist is also declaration of your independence.
It is.
It's like a real declaration of independence. If every day you are out in the mirror cutting your hair, you have to go to the barber, you have to go, how much money are you spending on all of that? It's like a new acquired taste that your ancestors did not have barbers, you know what I mean? So either they cut their hair or they figured out how they looked. But when you look at, let's say, you don't have to go to a job interview, you don't have to go to your boss to look good and wear your suit. You can be yourself. You can let your beard grow. Our women can grow their afro. They don't have to wear the Indian women's hair that currently most of us is using for the extension. I'm just being frank. Instead of showing our own natural hair, like being proud of who we are. The thing is about identity is that you never even know, and I'm not saying that I'm not a victim of that. I'm not talking from a high mountain to an audience and saying this is how it's done. Like I'm removed from that. I do that the same thing. I'm also a product of colonial programming. I grew up watching I went to the same schools. I've traveled around. I come and sometimes I have an accent. I act a little bit more American when I've stayed in America. We all are part of that. But in the long run, it's also about how do you use the tools of colonization to decolonize. You see, and decolonization can come from fashion, music, food, everything. We think that it's more political.
Yeah.
Political is the last phase of it, because if you are not, it's almost like the concept of born again.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like even when I hear that word born again is not only a spiritual, shall I say, transformation or recovery of your identity. Born again, in terms of, if Africans are truly going to be born again, then that means our born again has to be, decolonization has to be the most important.
Yeah.
Who are we? You know,
going back to your
exactly.
your roots, yeah.
You know, because the thing is that if you don't find who you are, say unnim wo ho a, unya wo ho a, wobɛsan sa wetimi ayɛ wo ho. You know,
Yeah.
and then you become a cheap copy of somebody else.
Real.
But you can never be better than somebody based upon your imitation of who they are.
Yeah.
You can only adapt good elements of that person to enhance who you are.
Right.
You know, so that's why the idea of us embracing who we are, embracing the African nature, does not rob us of being modern citizens. It just, we can use it, modern tools, to even dig deeper and connect with a much more deeper aspect of ourselves. We can use digital tools now to tell our story in a way that our ancestors didn't come. But that does not mean that we have to tell the stories and become Western, but it's more going back to the cultural richness and repository of great ideas and spirituality and diverse cultures, diverse food, diverse dances, diverse rhythms, diverse, shall I say, fashion, you know, makeup, all of these that were culture. I mean, you see modern, everybody going into old files of African, the way we are making up and then using that for new motifs and starting new movements, and we don't even know it came from us, because our continent is broad and we have all of that. But it's like, know thyself. You know, and I believe that for me, a lot of my conversations these days is about that. It's about ultimately that, know thyself. And once you know yourself, it's like the big key to unlock your potential, and you don't need anybody else to give you that permission to do that. So, you know, that's how I see, you know, us going back to who we are, embracing who we are, our food, our culture, and all of that. It leads us ultimately to that without us working hard. And in doing so, the new African will be reborn in us.
Right.
That's our rebirth.
The question I have, he would answer it after the break.
After
So my
the break,
question
yeah.
is, how do you connect to the higher power aside music
Yes.
and your locks? I can say, like, your hairstyling decisions. Aside these two,
Yes.
what are the other ways that you? So we'll go on a break, and then Rocky would answer that question. So, yes. So is it me, or the video quality for this season is insane?
Bro, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, we're here now. We've gone through the roof, Charlie.
And of course, it's because of Skate Multimedia.
Exactly,
I mean, when
exactly.
it comes to video, photo shoots, event coverage,
Podcasts, everything, bro.
they are like the big deal.
The big deal. Anything you need, just come to Skates Multimedia Studio.
Even content creation, if you want to do like a quick video for a brand, they have an amazing team.
There's nothing you can't do here. So please come to
I
Skates.
I want to fly.
Skates Multimedia Studio.
Skates makes me want to fly.
From CAT Spintex. Just come there. Tell them that Stay by Plan sends you. Maybe you get some small discounts.
Small. Don't come and
promises.
spoil their business, because
No
the
promises.
quality and the price, it matches.
Exactly.
So yeah, shout out to Skate, and thank you so much for our amazing video quality.
Yes.
So let's get back to the episode. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so thank you for the amazing break. I'm sure you guys enjoyed what you saw, and we are back. So I was asking Rocky more about like spirituality and the higher power, and then I know that like music is one of the easiest ways to connect to the higher power and know who you are more. And then you just gave us an interesting reason as to why you have locked your hair. So aside these two things, how else do you connect to the higher power to understand who you are?
I think also spending a lot of time in nature. You know, I think that for me, it's like, you know, for me, nature is the first church. You know, before we as human beings discovered the art of moving, anything, everything was made out of nature.
Yeah.
Before we discovered cement,
Yeah.
even everything was out of nature. So the first place of gathering has to be within nature.
Yeah.
The Bible says that when God created man and woman, put us in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
The garden, what is the garden? The garden is a forest. The garden is a place of nature. The garden is a place of diversity.
Yeah.
You see, so that shows that human beings naturally, we thrive spiritually in nature. So that means that even the construct of building cities is great. It served our curiosity. I'll say after the fall from the garden, we went into the city,
Yeah.
and you should look at the wahala we did the city inside, right now, So for me, the idea of nature, protection of our environment, if even you live in a place, planting trees and all of that, we're so connected to the energy of trees. And I feel that is a source of not only spiritual inspiration, but also health, mental health. You see, the thing is that we don't talk about mental health enough. Mental health, I think now that we have a word to describe it, it all of a sudden looks like something that everybody has had a bout of. But mental health has always been part of our disconnection to the environment or our environment. It affects our psyche. It affects the way we perceive the world. It affects the way we connect with people. And I feel that trees, the lack of trees, and the amplification of EMFs, we have all of these gadgets. They are emitting EMFs. We have Wi-Fi's that are transmitting things through us. We have poles everywhere. Everywhere you go in, there's cameras taking, you go into the airport, they're taking your x-ray. At first, you had to be sick for x-ray. Now they go abroad yourself, and they go take your x-ray. By the time you go reach there, usually
Your whole body
your whole body shrink.
Honestly,
You are
true.
microwaved,
Yeah.
So all of these things are contributing heavily. It's like a war on yourself.
Yeah.
So I feel that so it's hard for you to even reclaim your spirituality because you are fighting not only a spiritual war, but an electronic, algorithmic war, an environmental war that is not seen but felt. So to repopulate with more nature will be our way of also balancing and creating the right environment for us to feel peaceful, the right environment to also counter, the city construct. We need more parks. We need to protect the trees. Even in our city, you go to European cities, a lot of places, there's parks. Parks that even when you are walking around and you go to the park, everybody is sitting there quietly. People who are leaving work, they are sitting there. People even don't talk. Everybody goes there and it's like there's a certain reverence for being in that space. And I feel that it was not done just for the show of it, because there was an understanding that we are inextricably connected to nature. And I feel that that's what we need to do more here, because sometimes we feel that, God can be only found in the buildings of wood and stone. God can be found within your heart. Because if you don't have God from within to without, no matter what building you go into, no matter what mosque you pray inside, no matter what church you go inside, if deep within you are not connected to God, I don't think that the building can help you.
Facts. So I have personally two more things I want to touch on. So I think the first is about food, the second is about the Grammy. So I'm just saying it so I don't forget.
Okay.
So food wise, I did some research and I saw that you are vegetarian.
Yes.
Yeah. So how long have you been vegetarian?
I've been a vegetarian, I'll say, most of my life. Even when I was growing up, we had meat and all of that kind of stuff, but we were never like meat was not something that we constantly ate. So it was easy for me to transition to be that.
Yeah. So in your experience, being vegetarian, do you feel like, and even just connecting back to the points you just made about nature,
yes,
do you feel like that's another thing that helps you connect with yourself, first of all, and then secondly, with, higher powers and so on? And then does it even translate into your music and your craft?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I believe so in my instance, because you see, I'll start with a kind of worldview that describes why I'm a vegetarian. You know, I believe that we are all in nature connected, both everything that is sentient, from we, the animals, insects, the air we breathe, everything to each other. We are all connected. We are all God's children. We are all creations of the Almighty. So that means there's a connection on a certain level. And the whole thing too of human survival, I believe that there is a certain responsibility for our species, that we have the concept of discernment, the concept of making choices.
Yes.
And that concept of making choices is a very heavy one. We don't see that as a decision, but that's the most important. And it's also the test. Because, we can make a decision that is not based on dogma, doctrination, already accepted concepts, and we can still be able to create our own paths with our judgment. I'm being a bit ambiguous there, but what I'm trying to say is that I came to the realization that if I can be able to live without killing a cow, without killing a chicken, eating chicken, without eating a goat, or going to the forest and then some animal that is also living its life, shoot it, and then I'll come and consume that as a means for me to protect my life by taking another life. I felt that it broke a universal law, in my opinion. Because I see the concept of thou shalt not kill in a bigger way, because there was no addendum to that thing. It didn't say thou shalt not kill only your species. This is thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
So we can have ecclesiastic legal minds argue that forever and ever in eternity as to what that means. But to me, the sense that it made for me was that if I've been given, God has given us the opportunity for life, the opportunity to make choices based upon life, the opportunity to protect other life, then we have to see ourselves that if we are children of God, God didn't create all of that to eat. Something to sustain, but not something that you have to take a life in order for you to have life. So that governed my whole philosophy on life. So I knew that, okay, if I can grow plants and fruits where, that's how we survive. We can survive without meat. So my choices, although growing into that was not easy, because I grew up in a culture where we have chicken, we have food. It's part of us. And it's part of our traditional culture, and we do that. And even many spiritual cultures, before even that animal is eaten, there's a lot of ritual that has to go. The meat is not, you just don't go and get like a chicken that you've never seen, frozen from some country that you've never heard of, show up on your plate, and then you start consuming and thinking it's chicken. I mean, it's chicken because it's in front of you. But you saw what it was, you were connected to it, you cut, there was a whole thing, the blood was put in the ground and all of that, and then it wasn't something that you ate every day. There were specific days that was done, important days. So there was also a very reverential aspect that was attached to even that. So when I take all of that into consideration, I know that I can survive without going through all of that. Then, I feel that a burden has been taken off me in my own mind. So for me, it's not to preach for what other people to do, but I'm trying to tell people like what makes me be a vegetarian. So if it makes sense to you, then you understand that, okay, maybe for spiritual growth, things like this will help you. And then I feel that even when you think about health-wise,
Yeah.
the body can process plants better.
Yeah.
Digestion, your system can process plant better than when you consume meat.
Yeah.
True.
So that's
You're very deep.
yeah.
Very. Yeah.
Actually, vegetarians, me who vegetarians me,
I know they're vegan. No.
Hey, even so they ask me those
That's why
questions.
he asked you. Me, I'm the one that have kept quiet. I'm the one who has been eating.
On the fence.
Hey.
Eating everything.
Yeah. You are objective to convert.
Yeah.
She's coming. She's coming.
I mean, to be very honest, like sometimes I do take both. The both are true. Sometimes I go like full on carnivore.
Yeah.
Ketosis type thing, and sometimes I go full on like vegan, and I have seen not vegan but like more vegetables, less carbs, and then I've seen how much I feel much lighter and like clearer. I don't know how to explain it. When I eat like more plants based, and then when it comes to like eating more like animal, I feel more like
Heavy.
not heavy but like
Somebody in
sturdy.
spirit day your top.
Like sturdy. And funny enough, I think I read it somewhere though that like people who eat a lot of like meat are like more bullish and more like rowdy, while people who, I don't know the truth to it. I've not gone deep, but I do respect like vegetarians and vegans a lot because me, the way I like meat, I really struggle. But like I do
but
really
the thing
respect
that we
the
are
fact
forgetting
that
too is that there's a lot of plants that have the
Yeah.
same flavor and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's all a matter of expanding the
True.
scientific aspect
True.
of what we think plants. Plants does not mean you just go and take green tasting and rather worry. That makes you vegetarian. But it's also the ability to take plants and start seeing different aspects.
True.
All our medicines are plant-based
Plant-based.
originally before we
True.
started going chemical.
True.
And look at where it's led us to.
True.
Controlled by pharmaceutical industries.
True.
Every day they take pill.
Yeah.
But at first, your food was medicine.
Literally.
You see, so the food you ate was not only to feed you, but it also healed you.
True.
And even when you imagine when you have like malaria and all of that, when you see, munye your friend is saying,
Neem, the
light
soup.
soup,
Yeah.
mofa mano, get the person some soup.
Yeah.
Why is it that we associate soup with pepper and all of that and as part of when you are recuperating from
Yeah.
all of that?
Yeah.
Because it is. That's why there's the need, and culturally we've done that for a long time. So the food and nature was how. So there's so many different things. We just have to. You see, the thing is that we just have to apply scientific knowledge and approach to our engagement with protecting the earth.
Yeah.
And also, I don't like to use the word exploit because exploit means taking advantage.
Yeah.
But exploring the value
Yeah.
that is in nature that can help us thrive
Yeah.
without necessarily destroying the capital,
Yeah.
the natural capital that we have,
Right.
And I think that type of mindset, I feel that that's the future.
Yeah.
That's not the future only for us, but the future for humanity is in terms of going back to the fundamentals, going back to the garden.
Yeah.
Going back to the Garden of Eden. Because if we're thrown out, then why are we still heading out in the direction that is not towards the garden?
Yeah. Real.
Yeah, we have to head back to the garden. Yeah,
Real.
man.
I like that. I like that.
Now, don't worry, I'll remind you. You had questions about Grammys.
Grammys.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me give like a whole premise, right? So obviously now the Grammys are, I think it's clear that it's the most respected music awarding system in the world, and obviously it's done by the Recording Academy, which is American. I think they've been going for maybe 70 years or so, but we know that if you go into the past of the Grammys, our people were excluded. It's only recently that they started to recognize our people and our sound and our music, and even now they've kind of still put all of us into a box, so I think they call it's like the world music sort of.
No, it's there's African. There's
now some
global.
African, there's global.
There's global music, and then there's global performance, and there's also African performance, which is categorically only African.
Only African.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
there's Latin one, but the Latin has its own spin-off.
Yeah.
But now there is a whole category
Yeah.
for Africa you know, the first, you know.
Yeah. So I think eventually now they're trying to expand it and be more inclusive. But if you look at it, say compared to music within America, you know, they have jazz, they have hip hop, they have, you know, all these different categories. But then for us, I wouldn't compare your music to, let's say, somebody like Davido, for example. But then it's not impossible for them to put you guys in the same category.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I feel like we as Africans have this, Africans in the music space, let's call it that. Everybody is kind of dying for that Grammy recognition. Like they want the award, they want the nomination. And I feel like we need to kind of look at it again. Are we seeking validation? You know, I understand the validation that comes with it because it's the biggest award system that we have in this world.
Yes.
But if you take a second look at it, like, what does it give us? What validation does it give us? Aside from, okay, now I'm a Grammy winner, so my price is different. So, you know, that one day your money will go up. But aside from that, like, what validation does it give us as Africans and African musicians and people in the African music space that we cannot necessarily get on our own? Like, why do we need somebody else to tell us that, okay, your music is certified, you are on this level, you've done well? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's what I've been thinking about in the last few years.
You see, first of all, I'll say that thou shalt not make music for the sake of awards. That's the first principle of being a musician. Yeah. You know, everybody goes into music for a reason. Some are going there for fame and fortune. Some are going there to for accolades. Some are going there to express a certain deep cultural perspective and project a certain energy and vision and mission. So there are so many different ways why people get into music. Yeah. So the concept of creativity itself, creativity is subjective. Mm-hmm. You know, so when you look at even creativity itself, creativity doesn't have to have even metrics of judgment. Mm. You know, what I make is wholesomely mine and it represents my truth. What you make is wholesomely yours and represents my truth. Who am I to judge you and tell you that your inspiration is different just because I have some pedestal to look at yours and make a judgment?
True.
So all of those things are in actual fact not a validation of truly who you are as an artist. But then when we look at the real world of the music industry, you see, we have the creativity, the inspiration, and then we have the music industry. Mm-hmm. And then when you get into the music industry too, they will tell you something that before you can be able to, let's say, break into, let's take a country like Ghana. Make sure your music is this way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Make sure you have some high life stuff. Because DJs need be brain. Say tree kasa no say amount for be break can tree into so two tree more a bit. There's certain elements that the industry and your peers and everybody ask you to add to your creativity in order for your creativity to be accessible within that industry to survive or to make an impact. So you adapt to those things because you want your music, you don't want to create the music and it's in your room. You want to share it. And I believe that every musician that makes music want to share it. Yeah. But if you want to share it, you are not limited by borders. There's no musician I know in the world who does not want his music to be heard in Ghana, to be heard in Nigeria, to be heard in Malawi, to be heard in America, to be heard. There's no musician. Even the one that is making traditional music wants people to relate to that music because that's the nature of music. It's like water. Once you create it, it's going to find its way till it fills the whole world. That's how it is. You're only a conduit for it. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, when we come to an artist's mission and vision, if many want to be musicians that make music for, you know, you want your music to be heard within one geographic area, fine, that's your vision. an artist like myself and the mission and what I represent is not only local, it's global. You know, I don't only speak to Ghanaians, my tribesmen or this thing. I speak to the world. I want my music to travel beyond borders and cross borders, circumvent everything and be heard, because the message in my music is what is most important. So most of the time, the industry is not geared towards artists like mine, because the industry is geared towards something that you put cookie cutter, you make some hook line, something. It doesn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
It's mass produced. Everybody bumps to it. Everybody thinks it is in. You're on top of the charts. You are conquering big stadiums and all of that kind of stuff. And that is how the industry sees it.
True.
So for an artist like mine too, who is not, let's say, defined by industry, you have to find how the ways in which you navigate your music for your music to be heard, just as the label will do. So nobody has the, shall I say, the blueprint to tell you that, oh, because this is some American this thing, so if you are aspiring and you are breaking grounds there for people to recognize, that means it necessarily is a bad thing. If it becomes an obsession of your career, that's the only reason you are doing your career, then that is a problem. But you aspiring to that does not necessarily make it wrong. It's part of, you know, human beings. It's like, I always, sometimes when I go even to my traditional home, you know, a lot of people who grew up, you know, farmers, my cousins, and, you know, they never left the confines of the village life. They never even came to Accra. They've never even been to beyond anything. Their whole world is there, and that's how they've always wanted it. So their worldview is where it's at. My father wanted more, he moved to another place. I wanted more, I moved to another place. So the spirit of discovery and evangelizing our music on a bigger platform, it's a healthy thing. But when we start being obsessed by systems that does not necessarily reflect the creativity of our people, then we also make a mistake by attaching creative excellence to certain shall I say, certain validation that does not really reflect the entire creative pool that we have. But when we put it into an industry context of trying to make headways, then there are certain things that make up that industry that, to some extent, all help in terms of the perception of the industry. And you cannot run away from those things. You don't have to be of those things, but you cannot run away. And let's say attaining those does not really hurt what you are doing.
For sure.
You know, so I won't say that. I'll say that don't make your music for Grammys, but don't let Grammys determine what your career is. And at the same time, don't let anybody tell you that, why can't you go and get nominated for a Grammy and you should only focus on your this and sit in your corner. No. You know, musician, you want everybody to respect what you are doing. So break every corner. Go everywhere. Go to the top of whether it's American or Western. Be bold enough as an African musician to know that your music can sit on the apimpim or on the top of that thing. And you have the audacity to make that music that goes there. Don't be limited by confines.
For sure.
But at the same time, don't be defined by confines.
I think that's it. You said, because I think that's what I've seen now in Ghana and Nigeria, like, it's like we are almost, a lot of our musicians are becoming obsessed. Just in their lyrics and everything. It's like Grammys. I'm just like, relax. You know? No. People can, because, you know, I've answered that Grammy question like 500,000 times. You know, and I keep talking about, it's almost like when, you know, I always feel that it's kind of a product of what you do. And the more you focus on your creativity and breaking boundaries, you become this loner person that everybody tends to see. You see, but when you are part of a crowd and a group of what is called, it's hard for you to have your identity. And that's why I see that innovation does not necessarily mean that you are positioning yourself for Grammys, but
innovation will make even the Grammys take you notice.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You know, so it's part of that. And if you are starting from here, when I was starting, I just started as a musician here, and I just wanted to do music. I've been making records before even Grammy came. Later part of my journey when even that came. But it was all a culmination of the work that I've been doing. And then when that recognition came, I was like, oh wow. Okay, then I became self-aware of it.
Yeah.
But in the first time, it was not something I didn't even know how
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
But you acquired that, your music moving to places, your music discovering new things, your music seeing new musicians in different places that did not grow up on our music or our industry, telling you how their industry is, new ideas that we probably have not seen, new people telling you need, all of those ideas are important.
Yeah.
You need to go out there and learn and open your mind and see what is there and be able to position yourself to impact all of it, you know. So I that's how I see it. I think that all the arguments are valid, but in the long run, we just have to come back to making great music.
100%.
So
Yes.
this one day, I'm just putting myself like out there with respect to like Zoe and I doing this podcast. Like you are saying, a lot of people don't see the journey. They just see the success, and it's just like, oh, Rocky is this, Rocky is that. So I think what I'm asking for is like encouragement based on your past. I'll ask my question.
Yes.
So me and Zoo had a conversation this week. I called Zoo and I was literally crying on the phone that we've been doing this for 5 years, and like when does it become stay by plan, right?
Yes,
I mean, you sitting here is obviously like one of the things that makes us know that we are doing the right thing.
Yes.
So for you, were there some times where it was just like, oh, like I love music, but Charlie, I'm not saying
Every day, every waking hour of it. But where do you think your lyrics come from? Have you listened to some of the best lyrics, music that has stood in time? They're depressing music.
Very depressing. Yeah, it's true. Very real.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Bob
real.
Marley, this morning I woke up in a curfew. Oh Lord, I'm a prisoner too. That was not a happy man's voice.
Yeah.
That was somebody who felt oppressed.
Yeah.
Whether it was real or his mind, he felt oppressed. Like whether he was like, you know, a mixed kid who found himself in a very heavily black place, and he's trying to identify to be black, and everybody's calling him Obroni and that kind of stuff, and he's like stuck. You know what I mean? He was going through a lot of stuff that were personal but then because he went to his own truth, it became everybody's truth.
Yeah.
You see, so we go through all of that, the journey. When you guys get successful, you're not going to remember this part, because that time you got paparazzi going to come. Everybody wants to line up and be on your podcast and that kind of stuff. And there will be some assistant here telling, who say, and that kind of stuff. And when you get there and you've arrived, it's hard for you to see the stepping stone. But the stepping stones are all done with sweat, blood, and toil and sleepless nights. But that's the thing, is that you can't forget the stairs when you get to your destination.
Yeah.
Because once you forget your destination, then you've lost that, because it's the climbing those stairs, the pain of climbing, that gave you the hunger, the determination, the fire.
Yeah.
You know, the fire to do what you're doing. So I went through a lot. I went through a lot of challenges, you know, because to be an independent artist and navigate your way around an industry that is orchestrated deliberately, you know, an industry that, you know, I wouldn't use the word spiritually corrupt, but that's what came out of my mouth. You know, an industry that, you know, tries to elevate things that are trivial and illusion to the masses, and you're trying to bring consciousness, and you're trying to elevate people, you are trying to unite people, you know, you are trying to be politically open-minded and inspire Africans to be the best, to be masters of their own destiny, to fight colonization and oppression and take control of their own resources. You know, you're kind of the musician that no record company wants. So you have to be your own record company. You know, you have to be out there. So you can imagine the burden of that journey.
Yeah.
But that's what we carry. That's what puts us the smile on our face, because you have to embrace it.
Yeah.
When you embrace it, it becomes a power beyond your
Facts.
your wildest imagination. Innately it becomes its own power, because you are a speaker of the truth.
Yeah.
You express the truth in its purest form, and that's what I believe.
I believe it too.
I mean, same for us, because like the podcast now, like everybody's just having, not everybody, but people, the trivial conversations do well.
Yes.
When people are talking about, will you hit or miss? Would you smash or dash? Like those are the things that are selling. And then Zoo and I are having a very great conversation about mental health. And then you are seeing like 1,000 views. And someone is saying something that they are just speaking with no facts. And then you are seeing 200,000 views. I'm just like,
do you know why? No, do you know why?
Why?
Okay, because we are also the target of AI. We are living in the times of digital colonization.
True.
And by digital colonization, the last few years, the metrics that have come out around the world have shown that 1 in every 4 person by, let's say, the year 2030, 40 is going to be African.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest number of youthful people are going to be from Africa.
Yeah.
The people who are procreating, having babies effortlessly,
it's us.
Africans. So the one way, the colonized way, the slave you, and those all of a sudden you prepare yourself to be the controller of the world.
Yeah.
So it's not in everybody's interest.
Yeah.
Not in the ones that came to keep you where you are and continuously are undermining your progress in order to keep you at a certain. So there is an attack on the mindset. So now with digital slavery, it's not a matter of, you are programmed for your own outcome to serve your own slavery.
Yeah.
The slavery is not coming from you. Are the enforcer of your own slavery.
Your own slavery.
So if the thing that is supposed to unravel that slavery, if we talk about it right now, the algorithm is not programmed by black man. It's not programmed by your father. It's not programmed by ancestors. It's programmed by the same people who have had the whole, and they programmed the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't come from heaven.
Yeah.
It's not somewhere where it by itself say 1,000 views, 2,000 views.
Yeah, true.
If I am talking the truth, the algorithm will diminish its ability to reach you, and you reach you, because once you all wake up, the game's over.
Yeah, real.
So if you post something that is about nyash, stupidity, all of that kind of stuff, the algorithm will be like, hey, black, all of that kind of stuff. So the youth, all those African youth, if we equip them with knowledge, good knowledge, it will change the character of the world.
Yeah.
But if you encourage them to become consumers and people who don't innovate, people who are still at the bottom end of everything, people who just pollute their stuff and sell their land and don't even know their value, they don't even know their culture, they worship foreign gods, they throw away all of that kind of stuff, then they are primed to be commodified.
Yeah.
Then your numbers, it's not your strength. Your numbers is actually somebody's economic fodder to come and make their wealth by selling to you, because you have lost every capacity to be the master of your own destiny. And I think that is innately programmed in the algorithms that we are being engaged right now.
Yeah.
So right now we are in the war of the AI on our minds, but we don't know it.
Yeah.
Because we think the thing will come, will be somebody, then somebody will tell you, oh, numbers here.
Yeah.
Who controls the number? Numbers don't lie. Which numbers?
True.
The numbers where they count the computer, if you create them. The back end, did you create it? The data, are you the one in control? Mm-hmm. The algorithm that organized that data in some farm and some place out there, the software that is in the back end doing that. Have you ever seen the software? So if you are on the front end, and it's diminishing everything that is you, empowering you, helping you go forward, helping you connect with your people, helping you be smart, and then only stupidity, then you amplify and then it trend, then all of you are moving towards stupidity. Imagine 10 years of that.
Yeah.
What can I be? You have Africa with the biggest youth population, but it go be challenge.
Yeah, we just did it.
Nothing.
No sense.
No sense.
No sense. Sure, it's
You
very
know?
scary. I think it's this is very.
So that's
encouraging,
what
yeah.
we need to know, and I think that our leaders don't even understand the kind of warfare we are. You know, you will see
they
everybody. We are. I'm not jumping on trajectory, but we are worshiping the product of somebody else's. You know, somebody else. You go buy a car away from another place. Then we all they trend the car. Meanwhile, you are destroying your own waterway. God make that is life. You know, you are destroying them to go and get some gold so you can go and buy some car. Then you go put them on social media. Then everybody is telling you, "Oh, God bless you."
Yeah, real. No, very true.
Which God be that? The one way Satan or the two gods?
Which of the gods?
Which
bro,
of the gods?
Bro, really. Because you are taking the real wealth to go and get
buy
paper
a fake wealth,
and then use the papers
and
by
everybody.
yes,
You
yes.
didn't see the era of the rappers. They were wearing gold chain.
Yeah.
It be the chain where they take you as a slave. No, now they give you gold one and you put it on and you are walking around saying it be a means of showing your power.
Yeah.
It's not your power. You are what you are pushing. No, it's not. And they're using all of those words, demeaning words, bitch, nigger, all of those words against your own people because it's a new lingo.
She's a hoe. She's
no,
a
the power in words. Words are
Yeah.
creativity. So
Yeah.
you are affirming those words.
True.
And I feel that we have to wake up to the reality. It's time to wake up. And sometimes what you say might not, the majority might not agree.
Yeah.
But fine. Many are called, few
Are
are
chosen.
chosen. So let the chosen few hear so that they can reverse it. And by osmosis, the lost many can come back into the fold.
Yeah.
So we have to bold in our sessions, especially in the
continue.
times in which we are.
Yeah.
Serious times.
Yeah. Serious times.
I like how that was very secular.
Yeah.
Like this is your last point. Basically, you said it earlier in the conversation. You said know thyself,
Yeah.
and I feel like we've come back to that
Yeah.
with this conversation. Yeah. So
I think we can wrap up, but then I think the classic question that I think we should ask is what kind of projects are you working on this year? What should we look forward to? And also with respect to the Ghanaian setting, is there anything special that we should expect?
It's really an exciting time, you know. So, you know, there's so much to write about these days. There's so much exciting thing. I mean, it's challenging, but that's where the creativity is coming from.
Yeah.
You know, I'm excited about the art scene here.
Yeah.
I've been going to a lot of, kind of art openings since I got here. I can't get enough of it. You know, like all the painters, new Ghanaian painters and the youth that are embracing the painting and the galleries and the curators and all these amazing who are taking these cultural motifs and it's creativity, but we are doing it in a way that is like, it's showing its power.
Yeah.
So that is inspiring me. My new music that I'm working, and also the musical creativity that's going on. Not only Afrobeat, but all the creativity that you are seeing. The new artists who are coming on the block and the creativity that's going on. All of that stuff. I feel like there's so much good stuff going on, but that is also feeding into my current art. I'm just about to. There's a new single we're just about to drop, which comes out probably in a month's time.
Okay.
But that's also a precursor to a full-length album that will come later. So I'm in the midst of working on new music, to release new music, videos, being inspired by art, being inspired by, the seed, I'll say, the seed that is germinating outside of all of the stuff that I'm seeing, apart from the algorithmic thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is the other side that I'm seeing, is that despite all of that, there is what is coming out. And I don't want to say it so that the people know, say that be where they for good and go spoil our artists and now they could paint now. You know what I mean? But that's where I'm seeing all of this stuff that is coming vibrant and strong.
Yeah.
But our vibrant and strong is coming from our culture and our creativity and our art.
Yeah.
That's where it's coming from. And I believe that if we keep pushing that, that's something they can never take away. Nobody can take away what your creativity, your art, and your identity is as innate as it's an inalienable existence of who you are.
Yeah.
So those are exciting me. And then I'm traveling to go do some concerts. This year I am on my radar. There's trips that I'm going to be taking to countries like Colombia to go and do concerts over there. I'm very excited because I haven't played there, so I'm looking forward to it. And then concerts in the US and then also in Europe, and then the opportunity to do a lot of social initiatives with my foundation. There's a project that I'm working on right now in my hometown that is exciting. It's a mushroom project. So what I'm doing is I'm training indigenous women in terms of mushroom production. So we built a center there that we're doing all of these training to, first of all, infuse, the knowledge of economic productivity that is locally based, but then also added with local entrepreneurial knowledge too, so that it's not just producing stuff, but how do we do with what we produce and the knowledge that is needed to do all of that. So that's happening over there. I also am doing a reforestry stuff, a lot of tree planting there. Because we lost a lot of our tree. And so for me too, everybody has to plant a tree. Your life, if you don't plant tree where you grow up, where you die, God will throw you back again.
Actually,
you can't plant that tree
real.
because you can't cut trees or
You
plant
plant even one,
and you'll be added there 10. Everybody for plant 10. So more trees, more seminars to organize and have mind meld with creatives about what the new Africa is and what it's about, and how art can really lead that charge. And then Charlie, and then use music to power it. We go dance, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Never stop dancing.
Yes. I like that. So thank you so much for joining us. Before we leave, there's two things we like to ask every guest. Very easy questions. Who would you like to see or hear on this podcast with us?
You mean Ghana or anywhere in the world?
Anywhere you think is possible.
I think that if it comes to musicians, musicians who are pushing boundaries, who could be of great. There's a jazz musician called Kamasi Washington. I say that because he has kind of refreshed the concept of jazz music, 100%. And he represents like somebody who's been bringing a lot of African elements into contemporary jazz.
Nice.
And then he was instrumental also in Kendrick Lamar's album. He was a lot of the jazz aspect of that. Kamasi Washington. I knew Kamasi
before that.
Kamasi and I were part of kind of the same ecosystem in Los Angeles. And if you had sometimes, we played on, he played on some of my stuff, and I feel that somebody like him, his perspective could be great.
Nice.
To see how an artist, that was rising and you're coming and you're a jazz player in a place which is very pop. How did you navigate to, in order for you to refresh that whole genre, and add African elements to it. And then when it comes to personalities like visionaries, I think you guys should take your thing and go to Burkina Faso and interview our brother Traore over there, and capture his vision for the youth, and all of that kind of stuff. Because we, without mincing words, you know what I mean. How long shall we, stand aside when our prophets are are made targets,
Nice.
and we all sit by the side and we're twiddling our thumbs. And then we had Kwame Nkrumah, or Sergeant for Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown. We had Haile Selassie. Look at what happened to Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie, nothing happened but his own people in the long run. Lumumba, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. These are all black icons whose message, when you listen to their message, there was nothing about, they were there for us.
Yeah, literally.
As a people. But were we there for them? So we have to speak up. If there, you see, the thing is that we have to you have to differentiate what it means to be the concept, a political concept against a human being who believes in the righteousness and laying their lives and working for their people and living for their people. That's different from a political system. If we are talking about political systems, which political system have we changed? We've tried all of them.
Yeah.
All size fits all. Ghana, we try everyone. We are the leaders in coup making. We are the leaders in democracy. We are the leaders in whatever kleptocracy. Everything we do, I'm here.
Yeah.
But up to now, we still get economic problems.
Yeah, real one.
So that means say it is not the system where you they use, where is guaranteeing the progress of your people. It's the character of the people. Are they there to serve you, the people? Are they there to serve some masters?
Yeah.
You see? But if they serve the masters, and the masters they like them. See, once he get in share where the people we take them give them, the masters they like her, they go elevate them. We all go hail them.
True.
But if it day only for the people where they satisfy the masters, then all of a sudden the news be bad. The we too will go start the same algorithm where they look, Now it be the bad thing where they come, the we too they share them.
It's a cycle.
So let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
What is going on there is not about a military takeover or that kind of stuff. That's not what it's about. It's about the failure of the African.
Yeah.
The Africans have sold a lot of vision, great visions, but that vision has not manifested because we have had our own and dear masters connive to deprive us of who we are. So what we need right now is he's a product of the need of the African.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's a tipping of how African youth are feeling. And so everybody who's out there, either you are joining and understand this and helping to work on this paradigm, or you'll be an outlier in the African new revolution that is going on. That's how I see it. So our prayers and working hard at what we are doing, but keeping our eyes open to and watching what is going on.
Nice.
Very important.
Nice. Yeah. And then, last thing, is there a song that you think our listeners and viewers should check out this week?
What? There's a song that I always go just because I don't want songs that are also too hot where be like, I already talked the hot thing. So how do we bring some song where we can sing, sing Kumbaya, then dance? So I'll say a song like Beautiful People. A lot of times I like that because it's a thing of whether you'll be oppressor or you be oppressed, you can join in the party.
Yes.
A
song for everyone.
You can, you go fit chukas for the back, then you go come the dance floor. We all go celebrate. So Beautiful People is celebrating all of us. The concept of humanity, where we honor each other. Ghana, we need to rise beyond the tribal thing.
Yeah.
We shouldn't let that thing go into politics. Any politician way they exploit that thing, we will expunge them into the dustbin of history, because we don't need tribalism messing with our cohesion way or Sajifo, and everybody has worked over years for Ghana. Despite that thing, we become one solid people.
Yeah.
So that is one thing, unity. Unity of our nation, unity of the continent, and at the same time to play a major role in the total liberation of humanity.
All right. I love that.
Wow. Okay, so this brings us to the end. I'm sad, but I mean, now you're a friend of the podcast, so we'll always call you. We have your number now, so we'll be calling you. I would definitely be calling you for encouragement, because I feel very encouraged. I feel like you're doing
just let me know when you're going to Burkina Faso.
I'll let you know. We'll go together. We'll go together. Rocky, thank you so much. Thank you to your team as well.
Thank you to Skates Multimedia.
Of course, Skates Multimedia for shooting this amazing episode. Logged and loaded at 18 Junction. Charlie, whatever you are trying to shoot, podcast, music video,
Yes.
wedding shoots, everything, and then they'll even print their pictures too for you. So Charlie,
Full package.
make sure you come
Yeah.
to skate. And yeah, Rocky, thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
Zoo,
Yeah.
thank you
yeah.
for being you.
Oh man, I try my best, and thank you for being you too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yes, please comment, like, subscribe, and always follow. And remember to stay by plan.
Always.
Bye.
Nice. Bye.
Yeah.